But what? I know you don't really support him on some of his actions, but as we all know, and S-Man knows, Pinochet did not save Chile. In fact, he probably made it worse. Not only that, you're still supporting a man who did some horrendous, disgusting things.
Well, how did he make it worse? Chile is a thriving liberal democratic capitalist state and is one of the richest countries in South America.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna respond.
Yeah, I'll just let S-Man take over from this.
All right. So basically, the ends do not justify the means. I mean, like I said, if you wanted what the hell's his name? Allende. If you wanted Allende out of power, you should have just waited till the next election. It was within, I think, 3 years at the time. You don't need a coup to, if you want someone out of power, you should vote them out of power. Also, I'd like to quickly point out that it does not matter whether the good of what Pinochet supposedly did is far outweighed by the evil he did. The thousands that were thrown out of helicopters or had
communists are people.
Fuck you.
Oh, ha 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 ha.
Okay, that's fucking messed up.
Fuck you. Anyway, as I was saying,
hey, just a joke. It's a meme.
Hey, okay, Voltaire, shut up. This is not the time to be joking. I mean, everybody is in a rather dark and serious mood. All right.
Anyway, here's the thing. Okay, so what happened is thousands disappeared, forced disappearances, death flights, torture. There was even cases where dogs were trained to sexually assault people. All these bad things that happened under Pinochet's his de facto presidency, all of these things were easily avoidable had the CIA-backed coup and had everyone else just let not Pinochet, for fuck's sake, had they just let Allende's term expire and just let it, and hell, if they all would have ganged up in the polls and voted against him to get him out of office, this whole mess would have been avoided. The ends do not justify the means, and quite frankly, a term I like to say a lot, quite frankly, it was made far worse as human rights, free speech was all shit upon by having Pinochet be the de facto president of Chile, and at the end of the day, if Augusto Pinochet was the president, and let's say people thought he was a dictator and he was legally elected, and Allende had a coup happen, and all these terrible things would have happened, you would have totally denounced him. I don't think for a second you would have said, yeah, Allende did some bad things, but the other guy was worse. Like, was Allende a perfect president? No. Is Pinochet a good president? Absolutely not. War crimes and all sorts of living in Chile must have been hell at the time. Seriously, go to people who probably lived under Pinochet's regime and let's ask them, how did it feel? What was it like living under that dictator?
Is that all that you have to say, S-Man?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Voltaire, you want to elaborate what you said in the group chat and just respond in general?
Okay, on S-Man points, how the Chilean people view Pinochet is literally split down the middle. It's 50-50. So depending where you are and what your political spectrum was, you probably revere Pinochet or outright hate him, depending on your political leanings in Chile. So
I'm strictly non-interventionist, so that should answer the question there.
As am I.
And also, as far as I can tell, the CIA only just run like a few newspapers at the time, so it wasn't really like a back coup or anything. It was just like, I just believe that the power of the CIA is like deeply over.
Hey, S-Man, let him finish.
And Pinochet, he's like Pinochet himself. I just ultimately just view him as a necessary evil that Pinochet. Okay, to phrase it in another term, Pinochet was a was a necessity to Chile's future, and he forever cemented himself into Chilean history, and he ultimately did save Chile from economic and social policies. I just can I say a quote how I view?
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Oh my
Okay,
god.
okay, get on with it. Use your 10 or 5 to 10 minutes. Use your 5 to 10 minutes, however you want. I'm not going to restrict you on quotes and reading books. Go on.
Okay.
Any day now, Junior.
He denied that fascism and liberal movements aimed at the establishment dictatorships were full of best intention at their intervention has a moment saved European civilization. The merit of fascism has thereby won itself and will eternally live in history. But on the policy has no salvation for the moment, it's not the kind it should continue. Which could promise continuous success. Fascism was an emergency makeshift. To view it as something more would be a fatal error. Ludwig von Mises of Austria.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to tell you.
Voltaire, are you done?
Yeah.
Thank you. Like I said, and this may just boil down to a difference of opinion. The ends don't justify the means. The human rights abuses far outweigh anything good he did. But there's just no avoiding that. Every bad action he did had people just left Chile alone. Had they just, and like I said, the United States has no right to bitch about the Soviet Union and its authoritarianism when they back other authoritarians. And hell, the United States only does it because those countries have the same economic policies they do, or economic policies they agree with. And like I said, I think what I'm about to say anyway is that I don't think the Soviet Union would have made it into the 21st century, to be totally honest, as they didn't survive the arms race, and they collapsed in the 1991. And they say that, hang on, motherfucker, I didn't try to cut you off. Okay?
I was about to add that they disintegrated in 1991.
Okay, my mistake then. All right. Anyhow, when it comes to the Soviet Union, let's say they were forcing countries to turn to communism, like they'd invade countries, fuck them up, and beat them into submission. Well, the United States has invaded other countries, beat the countries into submission. The countries dared move a little to the left. Therefore, the United States has no room to complain about the Soviet Union. Also, that was, to be fair, the past, and we can just look at the future and say the United States has more domestic issues it needs to focus on rather than be the global policeman. We don't need troops to invade countries, steal the resources, beat up people in the term, and I mean that figuratively, like whack them over the head and say, no, you must go our way or it's the highway. I say the United States needs to be more non-interventionist, needs to focus on domestic issues over worrying about if some countries to the left of Milton Friedman's right testicle hair, for God's sake. And I'd say Dwight D. Eisenhower was the best president when it came to focusing on domestic issues rather than just worrying about what other countries are doing. Those countries deserve their own autonomy and shouldn't have to worry about whether or not the United States is going to invade it, overthrow it, and commit all types of atrocities against it.
Well, if I'm going to be perfectly honest here and place my ideology on the shelf here.
Okay, Voltaire, let this man finish.
That was I just did. What were you saying, Voltaire?
Go on.
Okay, let me put my ideology on the shelf for a moment here. Let me tell you the truth about international relations and foreign policy is as long as countries are willing to play ball with the United States, they're not gonna face any type of military overthrow or direct military or indirect military intervention from the United States as long the countries play ball with the United States and keep in line with the United States interests, because in fact this is a reality that we live in. That United States is in fact a hegemon and with interests. The United States has no real enemies or friends. We only just have interests in that regard.
The United States should not be a global policeman like it is. The country shouldn't have to, play ball. I mean, if we're talking, I also need to define that. If we're talking about play ball in terms of like, don't attack us, don't do these certain type of things, okay, I would say that's fair. Now, when it comes to making their own policies, their own decisions, they don't have to play ball. They shouldn't have to play ball with us. The United States, like I say, has no right to tell a country what to do with its politics, its people, its whatever. No.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I mean, saying that's how things are. I cannot control it. I cannot do anything. I can't really.
Okay. That's why I'm in favor of minarchism, so the government won't be power enough to do that.
All right, that's where I'm going to cut off the bout of exchange between you and Voltaire.